All right, good morning, everyone. It's Friday, April 10th, 2020. Happy Passover to anyone out there who is celebrating. This is Mind the Moment, our coffee house in the cloud, a place to build community, feel connected, and get centered. My name is John Roberts from Harvard Pilgrim Health Care's mindfulness program, and with me is Jackie Johnson, professional certified coach, principal and founder of Choice Coaching and Consulting, certified mindfulness teacher through the International Mindfulness Teachers Association, and one of the wonderful instructors who works with our program. Good morning to you, Jackie.
Good morning, all. It's wonderful to be with you.
So in just a moment, I'll hand it over to Jackie to take us into a 10-minute guided meditation. I'll be back to lead us into our Q&A period, and we'll make sure to end just a little bit before 9 a.m. And you'll see at the bottom of your screen an option to open up a chat box. At any point, you can type questions or comments, which we'll get to a little bit later. At the end, we'll point you towards some other ways that you can get in touch with us as well. So let me turn it over to Jackie now to get us started.
Thank you, John. So, many of us here in the Northeast are nearing the end of our fourth week at home. I had to think about that a little bit, and I know that some have been touched quite personally by COVID, and others through stories of the suffering of others we care about and those on the front lines. And I think there is this sense that we are all united somehow in all this emotion, in the fear that's very predominant these days. And this week, it felt to me like in some way the tone changed. And I don't know if that's an experience that resonates with other people, but as I was reflecting for this morning, I was thinking about how this week started with a sort of messaging about where we are in the curve and so forth, and included a message from the Surgeon General talking about that this was going to be the hardest and saddest week of most Americans' lives, which is a pretty huge statement. So those words keep floating back into my consciousness over the course of this week. And I think trying to sort of make sense of what we do with that. And each time they come up for me, I notice this sort of rising anxiety that's evoked, and also this kind of wishful fantasy thinking that can morph into that means in some way that next week will be better and will be easier. And if anybody was not on Tara's talk last Friday, she talked about anxiety and that being kind of the marriage of fear and uncertainty. So I noticed that for me, there can be these qualities of bracing against what I'm making up, or chasing what I think might happen then next week or at some point when this all gets better, if you will. And so there's been a lot of that coming up for me, and realizing, knowing that I've learned that being present and meeting what's here with an openness of mind and heart is typically far more helpful than the bracing and chasing. Our thoughts and emotions can take us on such a wild ride. And we're all going through a hard time with different conditioned responses now. And through practice, through this practice, which I think is, I'm finding more valuable, more important probably than ever, we can come to know our relationship to our emotions and potentially hold them a bit more lightly and with more compassion. We can become more skillful and quicker to notice what's real and present, and the layers of stories that we add on that really may not serve us. So before we move into practice, I just sort of invite everybody to notice what's up for you right now, what emotions may be present, and if there's anything you'd like to share in the chat box quickly. I'll just give a moment if you want to just even write down one word labeling the emotion that's here for you in this moment. And as we shift into practice, my encouragement to you is to notice any pain, any difficulty that arises in our practice this morning, and to make it as simple as you can, to really experiment with how you might attend to what's arising and use my words as guidance where they're helpful. And if any at any point it's helpful to put your hand on your heart or on your cheek, or there's some other touch that might be helpful, to really take the opportunity um, to tend to yourself in the way that's most helpful. So, with that, I invite you to find a posture that's right for you in this moment. And if you're seated, to ideally have feet on the floor, spine straight but not rigid, to feel a sense of softening. And if standing or lying down is right for you in this moment, really whatever's best. And if it feels right, allowing the eyes to close or the gaze to drop in a soft and unfocused way. This is really an opportunity to feel this moment that gives us the opportunity to be more inward focused. Noticing softening around the area of the eyes, allowing the face, the mouth, and the jaw to relax, the face to release any tightness, shoulders to drop, and briefly scanning the body for any areas of tightness or tension that you might soften. Aware of the weight of the body, supported in the chair, by the floor, by gravity, by the earth. Taking stock of what's here in this moment. And now bringing the awareness to the experience of sound. There's no need to go looking for any sounds, simply allowing the attention to rest in the direct experience of hearing. And you might notice if there are sounds that you're aware of coming from the outside, any sounds in the room, sound of my voice, sounds in the body. And simply noticing how sounds arise and have their own kind of a peak and then pass away all on their own with no effort on our part. Letting the experience rest on direct sensations of hearing. And now shifting the attention from hearing to the body as a whole, sitting and breathing. And you might notice the hands resting in the lap, sensations of the feet on the floor, the movement of air, sensations of temperature, heat, or coolness, tingling, vibration, and aware of any areas of tightness or discomfort. And if you do experience any tightness, just inviting a softening or a letting go if that's helpful. And now, if it's right for you, bringing the attention in a more focused way to the breath, wherever it's most prominent for you, and that might be at the nostrils, in the chest, in the heart space, in the belly, or it might be in the experience of the breath as a whole, the body being breathed in that natural way that it knows how to do without any effort on our parts. There's no need to breathe in any particular way, simply allowing the attention to rest on breath, almost the way it might rest on the swells in a body of water if you were floating, just naturally rising and falling. And if it's helpful, you can add a soft label of rising and falling or in and out. And if at any point you find it challenging to focus on the breath, you might choose a more neutral anchor, and that could be the hands in the lap, the feeling of the feet on the floor. Again, sound, and just experiencing the direct sensations of whatever anchor is easiest for you to access in this moment. If at any time a sensation, a thought, or an emotion becomes so strong that it pulls your attention away from the anchor, you might just make a soft mental note of thinking or an emotional note of fear or worry. And again, if it's helpful, to place a hand gently on the heart, perhaps even offering yourself some compassionate words like, it's okay. Everyone feels this way sometimes. It's okay. And if at any point you notice moments of peace, allowing those to be known as well, and even giving those room to expand. We can live a lifetime of emotion in one short practice sometimes. And in this last portion of our practice, you can stay with the breath, with another area of focus, or you might choose to broaden the awareness again and open to sensations in the body as a whole, to whatever is arising, and simply noticing how whatever arises dissipates on its own. I'd like to read a piece by Thich Nhat Hanh, and if it feels right to you to listen, I invite you to do so. And if it's better for you right now to keep my voice in the background, that's fine too. It's called Weathering the Storm of Strong Emotions. A strong emotion is like a storm and it can create a lot of damage. We need to know how to protect ourselves and create a safe environment where we can weather the storm. Keeping our body and mind safe from the storm is our practice. After each storm, we will become stronger, more solid, and less fearful of the storms. We can learn to take care of the painful feelings and strong emotions emerging from the depth of our consciousness. We are more than our emotions. We can recognize what is there. Breathing in, I know that this is only an emotion. It is not the whole of me. I am more than my emotions. This is a very basic insight. Emotions will manifest, stay for a while, and then leave. Why should we die because of one emotion? After a few minutes of practice, the storm will die down, and you will see how easily you have survived. You should start your practice before the storm begins, or you might forget to do it, and you might get carried away by the storm. This is why our daily practice is important. So, as we bring the practice to a close, bringing our attention from this more inward focus back to the community that we are here together this morning. And as it feels right, gently allowing the eyes to open if they've been closed. May we all be safe and well. May we be peaceful. May we live with ease, with joy, and with kindness. And perhaps particularly taking a moment to set that kind of intention for all those who are caring for us and who are helping to bring us all that we need in this time. May our practice be a benefit to all. Thank you for your practice.
Thank you, Jackie. So if you've joined us here on our last few Fridays, you may have been expecting to see Tara Healy, who is the founder and director of Harvard Pilgrim's Mindfulness Program. And we're very, very grateful to Jackie for having agreed to step in for Tara on this Friday. Tara is currently in quarantine at her home in South Central Massachusetts, but she wrote a message which she asked me to share. So here it is. She says, let me take you back to 6:58 p.m. on Saturday, April 3rd. I'm excited as I'm about to join a Zoom call with my sister in Connecticut and my niece in Portland, Oregon. All of a sudden, the phone rings displaying a 413 area code, the area code for Springfield, Massachusetts. Now, my mom is living in a wonderful, well-run facility for seniors in Springfield, yet this call has me a little concerned, and I become even more concerned as the content of the call becomes clear. I learned that a friend of my mother's had left the building and gotten into a car with her daughter to go grocery shopping. The daughter did not feel well and was admitted to the hospital later that evening, testing positive for COVID-19. Needless to say, my mother, along with any other residents who had had contact with the resident whose daughter had been hospitalized, were all ordered to stay in their rooms for 14 days. My mom no longer has the cognitive aptitude to stay in her room alone in isolation, and so the only option, as I saw it, was for me to pick her up and have her live with me for 14 days. Dread, fear, anger, sadness. That was the first wave of emotions that hit. How could this have happened given the barrage of information coming at us and given what it means to be in a global web of obligation to each other? But this is when I am able to connect with the practice. What sensations am I feeling in my body? Can I come out of the stories leaping into my mind, all of which were about the future or the past? Right now, in this very moment, what is happening? Feeling the beat of my heart, noticing a jitteriness throughout my whole body, noticing points of contact between my body and the surface. All these things coalescing to help me detach from the thought streams focused on the past and the future. Skip ahead to today. Quarantine with my mom is going pretty well. My nervous system is regulating and I feel less vulnerable. Things are okay, and when they are not, I spontaneously go to meta practice. May I be well, may I be safe, may I be healthy. May my mom be well, safe, and healthy. I do all of this without expectation. Of course, anything can happen. I do this because I trust this practice, and resisting reality is far more painful. Reality always wins. And resisting, I know, adds an unnecessary layer to an already challenging situation. Moreover, I know I have a set of tested practices that I can use at any time to relate to what is happening, and to do so with more space and with more ease. So I'll keep at it. It's a practice after all. My very best and warmest wishes to all of you. Thanks for joining in and sending some meta our way. We need it. Everybody needs it. So thank you, Tara. So Jackie, I've been noticing you asked a question for folks to respond just with a word or a phrase or a sentence about what they're feeling right now. I just want to read some of these back that have been coming in. It's a few of these words: pressure, fear, worry, uncertainty, unsettledness, feeling negative, feeling like it's hard to process everything, anticipation, also focus. And I like this one especially: chasing the rabbit, but not able to quite catch it. Feeling my body as with a lot of achiness in it. So these are just a few of the things that people have been responding with.
I just saw one pop up that said everything. I also saw trust.
So do you have any thoughts about? I mean, it's a spectrum of thoughts and emotions. Thoughts on how to, drill down into these things.
Yeah, I love what you just said, and sometimes it's actually resisting the temptation for me to drill down too much, and just like the other experiences that we have, the other sensations, and sound is for many of us an easy thing to work with because we tend not to personalize it. It's outside of us. The sound comes along. And for a while, I was loving practicing with, I live in a pretty quiet area and I can hear when a car is going by. And I was finding it so interesting to just sort of notice the arising of that sound of a car coming closer. And then when it kind of peaked, when the car was right near my house, and then how it would dissipate. And it's kind of a metaphor for all those experiences. And I truly do notice sometimes in my own practice that in even a 30-minute span of time, sometimes I feel like I can live a whole life of emotion. And it is that sort of grabbing on that we can do to something that prolongs it. There, I know some neuroscientists have looked at the half-life of emotion, and I've heard that it's something like oftentimes 90 seconds, and it's only through our relationship where we contract around it and we hold on to things that we really intensify and prolong those emotions.
Yeah, like what you're saying about sound, especially. So I live in kind of a busy and crowded area, and so there's a lot of sounds of cars and people coming and going. But these past 4 weeks, as you pointed out, it's been almost deadly quiet, and I'm realizing that these sounds that kind of used to bother me before a little bit, to shake me out of my meditation or my routine. Now, when I hear another human on the street, it feels very uplifting. I'm like, yes, there is somebody there. We are all here together, even if we're not seeing each other as much.
And, as we're winding down today, John, I love what you just said about that being uplifting. And we kind of started with that question about what people are noticing emotionally in this moment. And I also wonder for anybody who might like to share what you are finding uplifting and what practices you're finding helpful and nourishing in this time. So if anybody cares to add a few words in the chat box about what's supporting you, be lovely to hear.
And while folks are doing that, I guess what I've been thinking a little bit about something. So, as we're beginning our ending here, I wanted to mention that, we've been living now for a little bit over a week in a world without Bill Withers, the singer and songwriter who died on March 30th. And I was recently reading this remembrance of Withers by a professor at Vanderbilt University named Emily Lordy. And she, pointed out that Withers had been a lot of things to a lot of different people, but amongst those things, he was a man who lived with a stutter and who spent his life trying to control that stutter. And so Professor Lordy quoted Withers speaking to a support group for young people who also stuttered, advising them on how to face the fear of others' judgment, a fear that might otherwise force a person into silence. And so Withers suggested that the key was to lead with compassion. And he said, quote, "One of the ways to deal with the fear is to approach people with a prepared forgiveness. We have to be more civil than most people that we will encounter. Having had people not understand me has helped me extend something that hasn't been given to me. And I think that makes you a much bigger person." End quote. And so Professor Lordy ended her own essay on Withers by writing, "In this season of loss, when we wait on edge to see which blows might come next, we might hear in Withers' music a way of facing the many facets of what is and of approaching ourselves and each other with a prepared forgiveness." End quote. And so, I'm finding that as humans, we constantly come together over shared need, and perhaps we even need that sort of shared need to come together at all, or at least come together as our best selves. And so I'm hoping that, people are not afraid both to lean on each other and let themselves be leaned on as we go through this week. And I'm seeing some wonderful things coming in. This is so people are suggesting, as ways of finding that center, feeling of center, nature walks, virtual classes, of which there are a lot out there: yoga, meditation, exercise, chatting with friends, reading and journaling. Somebody says they're learning to play the ukulele, which is fantastic. Supporting and uplifting others, allowing emotions. Anyway, there's more here, and we'll maybe what we can do is post some of these to our Facebook page, and we'll invite folks maybe to continue posting things to our Facebook page if they have things that they weren't able to share here or still would like to. So let me actually just do a little bit of wrapping up here. So we'll be back with you every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. You can find the links to these sessions and other resources at our main site at harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness. And do drop us a line at askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org or leave a comment on our Facebook page. Our goal here is not only to practice together, but also to learn from each other. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know how you're leaning on others or being leaned on yourself in positive ways this week. You can also leave us a voicemail at my desk number, which is 617-509-7047. You can rewatch this session and older sessions on our YouTube page and find guided meditations on our SoundCloud page. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, especially to you, Jackie, for leading this wonderful session tonight. But all right, everyone, we hope you have a great week. Hope to see you again and have a lovely day.